Hey guys, what's up, it's Alex here. Welcome back to another video, and in today's video I'm going to speak through 5 predictions I've got for the F1 2019 season. Now, I know this is early, but I think this is also going to be funny to look back on in a year's time when we are coming to the end of the 2019 season and see whether any of my claims and your claims in the comment section down below are true, because let's be honest, none of my claims are sort of backed up by any sort of information. I'm just sort of saying them because that's what I'm thinking right now, and of course I want to see some of yours in the comment section down below. So go ahead, write a crazy prediction for the next year's season. Obviously try and make it a bit different. I mean, saying Mercedes will win a race next year is not that crazy. It's probably going to happen, so maybe go out there and say something that you're honestly thinking, but honestly it might be a little bit more unpredictable. So here we go, my 5 here in this one, and I'm going to start off with Honda giving Red Bull much more of a chance of going for a championship than they have done with Renault in 2018. Now I'm really interested to see what happens here, because this could go horribly wrong. Because let's be perfectly honest, Honda has had a bit of an iffy record in Formula 1 over the last couple of years. I mean, they have had some positive results this season with Toro Rosso. They had some decent results in 2016 with McLaren, but 2015 and 2017 were a bit of a joke. So it's going to be interesting to see, because I feel like they've been throwing a lot at the Honda power unit over the last couple of races, or maybe the whole season really, with Toro Rosso. You've seen how many grid penalties Gasly and Hartley have been having, and I think that's really interesting to look at, because Honda are pushing way more than they did in the past with McLaren. I guess that's because McLaren, they needed to try and hold the brand basically, and Toro Rosso don't really have to hold up so much of a brand, because obviously they're sort of the B team in a way. But obviously McLaren taking grid penalty after grid penalty, testing new parts, wouldn't have maybe been the best idea. But the fact that Toro Rosso is basically a guinea pig for Red Bull in 2019 is really interesting, and I feel like they would have made a lot of improvements over this season. Now, I think the straight line performance, that was an issue with McLaren. I don't think that that's going to be much of an issue anymore. I think we've seen that this year, that isn't really much of an issue, but the reliability is probably still the one thing that's nagging with the power unit, the Honda power unit. But I honestly think with Max Verstappen in that car, and Gasly looks pretty decent as well, I feel like there's a strong likelihood they could much easily compete for the 2019 Formula 1 World Championship. But let's be perfectly honest, I think it's still theirs to win rather than theirs to lose, because there's a lot of time to be gained from them. Over the whole season, they've probably been on average maybe half a second, 0.6 of a second behind, especially in qualifying. Race pace has always been a bit better, but once they get the right power unit in that car, you feel like that, you know, there's a chance of a championship there. But it's the reliability of that power unit and the power of that power unit which has really been letting them down of, you know, years of recent. So let's see. I'm really interested to know what happens here, but I do think it might happen with Honda and Red Bull at some point. Maybe not 2019, but maybe 2020. We will see. My next bold prediction is I think that George Russell will outscore Robert Kubica in 2019. Now, this is not hating Robert Kubica whatsoever. Please, any fans of Kubica or any Polish fans, please, I'm not having a go at Kubica at all here. I'm just going to go out there and say that I feel like maybe George Russell is one of the best young drivers we've seen in recent years. So it's not a dig at Robert Kubica at all. In fact, it's really just praising how good George Russell is. I mean, if you can come in and beat someone like Robert Kubica, even though he will be back as kind of a rookie in a way, he hasn't done a lot of testing over the last 8 or so years of Formula 1. He's sort of been out of the sport really, well, especially from like 2011 to 2016. He really didn't do too much Formula 1 testing. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how Kubica comes back, but I feel like George Russell is a very, very talented driver. He's on that same level as Charles Leclerc. They've sort of done similar things in the junior formula, a similar sort of age as well. Maybe George Russell a little bit older, but still incredibly young to be a Formula 1 driver. And even though the Williams probably won't be the most competitive car of next year, I feel like it's really going to be a close battle between the two, but I think over the season we'll probably see George Russell come out on top. But happier. Once again, please, I'm not having a go at Robert Kubica. I'm so happy he's back in the sport, and I hope he does really well as well. I'm not saying that because I want that to happen. I'm saying that because I just think it might happen. But I do honestly want both of them to do well. Obviously, it'd be great for George Russell to do well for the British fans, and also for Robert Kubica to do great just for the whole of Formula 1, really. Just the whole story is pretty incredible. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what happens there. It should be really interesting. So, my next one is Renault will get a surprise podium. So next year, obviously, they're going to be having Hülkenberg and Daniel Ricciardo, but I feel like they've got a chance of a surprise podium next year. It probably could not happen. There's a strong likelihood it couldn't happen because we're going to look into next season and have probably 3 teams that are better than them. Obviously, the same 3 teams that are better than this year. Red Bull, McLaren, not McLaren, they wish, Mercedes and Ferrari. But I think, one of those races, like Azerbaijan, something like that, I feel like there's a chance we might see Renault on the podium. It's not going to be down to them being quick. It's going to be down to other teams making mistakes. But I feel like it's a possibility. I honestly feel like it's a possibility. If a couple of things go their way, I think they're going to improve next year. They're going to be closer to those front 3 teams. I feel like there's not going to be such a deficit. I mean, this year it's like a gulf between them and the top 3 teams. But they've got better and better since they came back in 2016. And I think 2019 is going to be really interesting to see. Obviously, we'll have probably the top 4 teams in the championship are all going to have 4 different engines, which is going to be really interesting to note going forward. I mean, obviously a bit of a battle between the big giants of Formula 1. I mean, Renault are an incredibly talented team. We know that. They won some championships, quite a few championships back in the past, but I think obviously they're a bit of a sleeping giant in a way. So we'll see what happens. Maybe next year we won't quite have the pace of those top 3 teams, but I think a podium is definitely on the horizon. So my next one is less of a prediction really, but I'm just really interested to see how Kimi Raikkonen does in the midfield. It's quite a big risk for him because if he goes into the midfield and doesn't do too well, it's going to be interesting to see what really comes of that, because are people going to change their opinion of Kimi Raikkonen if he goes to the midfield with Sauber and starts really struggling? I mean, personally, I'm never going to change my opinion of Kimi Raikkonen. I know he's one of the greatest drivers of this era especially, and yes, okay, of recent, maybe the last couple of years, hasn't quite been at the same level that he was when he was first at Ferrari and then at McLaren, Mercedes before that. He might not be quite the same driver as he was back then, but he's still an incredibly talented driver. And the fact he's going on at this age is really great to see as well. I mean, I think a lot of people, including myself, maybe would have questioned Kimi Raikkonen's sort of attitude towards Formula 1 over the past years. But I think it's great to see him come back and want to actually drop down. Surely in terms of pay as well, he's going to be dropping down a lot of money to go back to Sauber. But I think it's a great sort of way to finish off the career where he started it. It's a great story. But yeah, I'm really interested to see what Kimi Raikkonen does next season. I think it's got all the hallmarks of a big upset. If a race like the ones we've been talking about, a crazy race happens, he could be in contention for a podium because he's always Mr. Consistent. He's always there. So that could be another person to look out for. He might get a surprise podium like Jonty actually predicted in the F1 Word podcast a couple of weeks ago. Now my last one on this list is McLaren. I've accidentally talked about them a couple of times in this video already, but they're going to struggle in my opinion. I mean, I guess that's not a huge surprise maybe to some people, but I'm worrying for them. As a British fan of motorsport, I'm looking at them and not seeing many signs of recovery. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there. There's obviously not something quite right within the team. I am a fan of McLaren. I'll never not be a fan of McLaren. I think if you're a British fan, you normally support the British teams, especially the ones that have been in Formula 1 for a long time. But it's very odd to see what's been going on with them over the last couple of years. I mean, I know, yes, okay, they can blame Honda for a couple of years, as we were saying, 2015 and 2017. Yes, okay, that's probably Honda's fault. But 2016, they had a pretty decent power unit under there. There were signs of improvement from Honda. And this year, I don't know, it's weird. The same Renault power unit, okay, maybe with Daniel Ricciardo, but the same Renault power unit is, I don't know, seems to be not too bad in the other cars. Okay, it's not as good as the McLaren and the Ferrari, sorry, the Mercedes or the Ferrari, but it's not terrible anymore. The 4 engines aren't separated by so much anymore. And the fact that a Renault power unit has won races, I think really just shows that there are inherent problems with that car, which we really don't know, maybe even the team. But I'm really hoping for a sort of a rejuvenation from them, but I don't know. I don't know whether it's going to happen, because next year, obviously, Lando Norris, a rookie, and Carlos Sainz, brand new to the team as well. They're going with a completely new lineup. That's something that they don't do too much at McLaren, but I think they realise it's time to move on. It's time to go out with the old and come in with the new, and obviously they see Lando Norris as the future, understandably, and Carlos Sainz is an incredibly talented driver as well. It's just whether that's all going to come together next season. I don't know, it's going to be very, very tough to see, but overall, I'm really interested to see, as always, what does happen in the 2019 season. Please leave your predictions about what you think is going to happen next year in the comment section down below. So it could go very wrong for all of us, couldn't it? We could all come up with some big surprises, some crazy things could happen, and all of these could be proven either right or wrong in a very drastic way. But overall, that's it, as I've been saying. So leave some of your comments below. Thank you for watching. Please remember to drop a like on the video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, and yeah, be sure to tune in for future videos, as more will be coming. And Facecam will be coming back, by the way, guys. It's just I've been doing my university dissertation, and we got a draft hand in, and it's been absolutely insane. And I don't want to keep using as university as an excuse, but it's pretty intense. And the gaming videos are definitely a little bit easier to record in that regard, because lighting doesn't have to be set up, doesn't have to do as much syncing with audio. So it's just a bit of time saving on my end, because I really am struggling right now, university time wise. So yeah, I just wanted to clear that up. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. It's been Alex, and I'm out here. Goodbye.